Yes, we are.
You're welcome back. The program is still Summit, and like we said, we'll be discussing, looking at the issues of waste management operations in Lagos. And we started this segment last week, Monday, and it's to educate the public on issues of waste disposal in Lagos. And we had Mr. Oladipo Egbeyemi join us last week, Monday, and he's also here this morning. He's the President, Association of Waste Managers of Nigeria. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you again join us today.
Good to be here.
You're welcome. All right, so this morning we are looking at marketing PSP operations in Lagos State.
Okay.
Now, along the line somewhere, PSP was kind of pushed out of the picture when it comes to refuse disposal collection,
yes,
in Lagos, but presently they are back
fully.
Yes. All right. So, what can you tell us are the new things people need to know about their operation?
Thank you very much again, and good morning, Lagos. Well, the new thing people need to know is also still the old thing people have known, and people need to know how to properly bag their refuse, how to make sure that at the appointed day of service, they put their refuse in either garbage cans or refuse bags in front of their properties, so that when the appointed PSP that is appointed for their area comes, they hand over the refuse over to the PSP operator, and that he subsequently cuts it away. And the most important part of it is, once you've been serviced, you have to pay for the service. You have to pay as at when due. And people need to know that it is not going to be business as usual for people who are flagrantly taking their refuse onto the median, onto the main road, and creating mini dump sites in our society, or dumping it into our waste channels. The state government is clamping down on those people who are not following rules and regulations. So what you need to do is make sure that at the appointed day of service, put your refuse in front of your property and make sure you pay your dues as at when due. And that is what has been in existence, and that is what we want to resensitize people on. The other part of it is the new innovation we're bringing into it, which is the world best practice in waste management, which was one of the things we enumerated the last time I was here last week. And that is waste sorting to waste becoming wealth. And that is the new path we are following now. Because generally, in developing countries or underdeveloped countries, a human being produces approximately 1 kilogram of waste every day. So if you multiply that by the amount or the population of people in Lagos State, that means we are producing over 22,000 tons of refuse on a daily basis. That's a huge amount of refuse being produced, and that needs to be properly managed if we want to live in a sane environment. So we are trying to make sure that the next level we are going now is how to make sure that the waste does not become waste, but it can also be turned into wealth. You can create wealth through this waste generated, so that the waste that will be probably a very, very minute percent of what is generated, maybe between 2 to 5% of what is generated, and that is the next level we're going now.
Now, I'm aware that you are the president AWAM.
Yes,
for the entire country.
Yes, sir.
Even though we are starting from Lagos State, this one is about Lagos State. We'll certainly move to Abuja, Port Harcourt,
yes,
those cosmopolitan cities. Now, but then we are aware there was a serious disconnect between you and your clients for a year, 2 or thereabout.
Yes.
And now you are returning fully to your operations.
Yes.
How much sensitization has actually occurred? Were there maybe town hall meetings of communities or CDAs where you've had opportunity to tell them these are our duties and responsibilities, and this is your obligation too? I'm aware that in the past your men, the operators, used to visit communities like twice in a week. Yeah, so but what are the new forms of engagement now that people need to know?
Okay. I need to make a correction there. The world best practice is once a week.
Once a week?
It is once a week, everywhere in the whole world. Sometimes there are special arrangements whereby the operator will come twice a week, because you have to also weigh the cost of being able to manage the waste from the perspective of the waste managers, of the operators, the PSP operators, to the perspective of the waste generators, which is each and every household. If you increase the time from 1 week to 2 weeks, that means you're increasing the cost as well, and the cost will be bared by the customers. And presently, it is almost impossible to be able to have head over water. So the government is kind of bridging that gap, that financial gap, right now as I speak to you. Now, like I said earlier, the world best practice is every day of the week, once in the week, there is an appointed day of the week that is appointed to your area.
That must be known to the clients.
Of course. Like you rightly mentioned, there should be engagement from the operator to individuals. And before now, we have been engaging the community through the local government. There have been meetings, tripartite meetings between the local government, the PSP operators, and the community. And in those meetings, sensitization was made. People were made to know their responsibilities. Likewise, the PSP also were held to their own responsibilities, and which is to make sure that at the appointed day of the week, the PSP makes sure that they bring their compactors and pack the refuse as it went in, you know. And obviously, the responsibility of the individuals are to make sure that the refuse are properly bagged. That is of importance, because when you don't bag your property, your refuse properly, you have rodents coming in and dispersing that, thereby creating this Lassa fever frenzy, you know. But when you properly bag it and you put it in a wheeler bin, or you put it in proper waste bags, it makes it easy for the waste operators to catch it away. You see, we have evacuators behind our trucks, and we have to be careful as well. If you don't properly bag your refuse, there's a possibility of having broken bottles or broken or sharp objects in your refuse. And if that is not properly bagged, there's a probability of those evacuators getting injured through that. And since what they were catching away is refuse that is bacteria infused, that means you are putting the lives of those evacuators at a very big risk. So we implore everybody to please make sure you bag your refuse properly. There's a proper manner of doing it. And that is a continuous process we've been doing in sensitizing people to know how to bag their refuse properly. Now, we go one step further.
Now, before you go further, sir, you've just spoken about bagging. What if I have the bin in front of my house?
I wanted to
does that deviate from your rule?
No. That makes it even easier. The refuse, the wheeler bin is the normal world-class standard that refuse has been properly bagged. Because once you have that, there's a lid on top of that wheeler bin. You close the lid, there's no more stench coming out of that refuse retainer. So the odor is completely sealed off. The refuse is completely sealed off. No rodents can come and disperse those refuse everywhere. And it makes it easy for the evacuators to come, carry the wheeler bin, empty your refuse into the compactors, and then return your wheeler bin to you easily. Are
there sanctions for residents, residentials that do not have these proper bins?
Yes. Well, right now, if you are looking at sanctions from the government, I would not be able to tell you per se whether there are rules and regulations that bind residents to be able to adhere to that. But what I know is individually PSP operators put in a sort of a measure to ward off people against that. Once they come the first time, the second time, the third time, and they know you are not following the normal practice, you get a warning. When we come the next time and you don't bag your refuse properly, we will not be responsible for cutting that refuse. That means you'll have in front of your property or your porch being littered and you'll be responsible for that.
Because sometimes I notice PSP, they use this shovel or something.
Yes.
You see them shoveling refuse into
the compactors.
Yeah.
And that takes away time. You know, it is also time constrained. There's a limited amount of time of operation. Once you go out with the refuse, with the compactors, you know the time you spend on the street. So if you're held onto one property, and the compactor has to be there for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, that means you've taken away valuable time away from the operation, because there has to be a very short turnaround time. You say, okay, for one circuit or one cycle of the operation, it's going to take about 4 or 5 hours. Therefore, within that 4 or 5 hours, you go about cutting the refuse from the residents, transport your vehicle to the dump site, empty the compactors, and then redeploy. You know, but when you have this, what we just, yes, and you have some the operators spending about half an hour, 45 minutes, and in some cases over 1 hour in one property, that elongates the turnaround time, and that makes the job unproductive. And that's why we are sensitizing people. That's why we're going back again to what we used to.
Oh, you say you've been sensitizing.
We have been. This is part of sensitization, what I'm doing right now.
I mean, the grassroots, do you still go to the grassroots?
Oh, yes. That's what I'm saying. We go to the grassroots through the local government. And in most cases, we are the first line of contact with the people. So when the compactors are there, we have our supervisors and we have our managers following the trucks. And so we do also on the spot sensitization, telling people how to properly pack their refuse, telling people of their responsibilities of payment after service, and telling people of the need to be able to adhere to these to the rules and regulations, so that we don't create mini dump sites everywhere, so that we don't clog our waterways, so that we don't create unnecessary health hazards for ourselves. Because when you dump your refuse in our waterways, you create waterborne diseases, you create airborne diseases, and you create all sorts of diseases that is detrimental to our health. So, first line of sensitization is our truck and our supervisors. And we go house to house and sensitize people. And then we collectively do that as well through the local government. You know, there's sometimes there is a local government meeting which is tripartite, which includes the local government officials, the PSP officials, and the individuals living around the environment, the community. And so in that meetings, there's a lot of back and forth that they tell us their woes, we tell them what is the next step to make sure that everything is okay. And then together we want to move the waste management forward.
I'm aware some of the, I don't want to appear to be speaking for you. I'm aware some of the challenges confronting your members.
Yes.
Now some of them have difficulties in accessing the points of collection, roads and all that.
Bless you.
So how do you surmount such problems?
That is not only a fundamental problem we're having. It's a problem that is unbelievably hard to surmount. Unfortunately, we live in a world where we are yet to get to that standard where our interroads, our inlands, where the roads will be accessible, will be drivable with our compactors. Those compactors are heavy trucks. And what we do in some cases, or in most cases, it is either the trucks stays at a point, perhaps at the beginning of the street, that you know is not accessible, and then you deploy your boys to go down. This is part of what I'm saying, the elongation of that turnaround time. And in some cases where the topography of that street is a slopey one, they have to go down to the last house and then carry the refuse, climb that slopey topography to get to the truck, to dump the truck, the refuse in the truck, and then go back again to the next house. And that takes away valuable time. You know, not only time, energy for the boys as well. Because when they begin in the morning, obviously they are energized and they are ready to work. By the time they do 2-3 hours, they are sapped of the energy. So you have to deploy more boys to do the job. Instead of having just 2-3 evacuators behind the truck, then you have to deploy maybe 4 or 5 to make sure that the efficiency of the job is met. So, and then in some cases we have these carts. The carts are deployed as well. It is the same cycle. Once you deploy the cart, you have about 2-3 evacuators following the cart. They go down to the street that is inaccessible, go to the respective houses, collect their refuse, push the cart to wherever the truck is parked. In some cases, far away from where they collect the trucks. And then dump the refuse from the cart on the floor because of the heaviness of the cart. And then from the floor, they now repackage it and put it. And so it's an extremely hazardous and extremely difficult job. And I think we are undervalued. The PSP operators are undervalued, and the job is not even appreciated. Aside from the cumbersome aspect of it, it is not appreciated enough. Because if it were appreciated enough, everybody will pay for their dues. You have in some areas people are owing over 50 million. They are owing the operators over collectively.
We'll talk about all these issues. Yeah. But pricing, do you not think pricing, appropriate pricing or inappropriate pricing, may be part of the reason why some people are not paying?
No. I think we are far from that.
Okay.
You see, last week we made mention of the policy somersault of the government. And during that time, it caused a lot of ripple effect. During that time, a lot of people just believed, because they were already unwilling to pay their dues, they believed there's absolutely no reason to pay waste management dues anymore. So, because of that, up till now, we're still having difficulty in convincing people to pay their dues. And in doing that, you will not be helping the cycle of the business. The PSP operator has to buy diesel for the trucks. They have to buy parts, tires, hydraulic oil, engine oil. They have to pay workmen, be it mechanic, rewire, the hydraulic man. They have to pay different kind of workmen to make sure that they oil the wheel that does the job.
Is the government not subsidizing anything?
That's why I said at the beginning of the program, right now there's some little amount that the government is using to subsidize it, even though it is not enough. It is absolutely not enough. But we are just having our head afloat water right now. So we are, because of the fact that the incumbent government is on its way out, the new incoming government is what we have to focus the next line of actions on. And we have, like I said before, given incoming government, we have given them a proposal on the next way forward of waste management, not only in Lagos State but in Nigeria at large. So we have given that proposal to them, and hopefully by the time this government is seated properly, they will be able to honor that obligations, and we'll be able to move waste management to the next level.
We'll move it to the next level. I mean, that's in synergy with everybody, all the stakeholders, including the media. We are playing our own role here. This is not going to be a one-off thing. I mean, this topic, I think we should have a part two of marketing your operations. It's very central, it's very key to the success of AWAM. Like I said, it's an ongoing thing. You certainly will come back, sir.
I certainly will.
To continue along that line, because I have issues with the truck pushers, several other issues along the,
of course,
I mean,
of course,
in relation to the issue of your operations. We need to sincerely thank you for your time, sir.
You're most welcome.
I know you are very loaded, you are so much busy. It's like when he was asking me, I said, well, just find your way to make it worth your while. Thank you very much, sir.
You're most welcome.
All right, so the number is there on the screen. If you have issues you want to clarify with Mr. Egbeyemi, please feel free to give him a call, and he will answer those questions and clarify these issues for you. Thank you again for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So we expect you again tomorrow, next Monday,
no problem,
to speak on PSP operations in Lagos State. All right, thank you, viewers. That's all for this segment. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, the discussion continues. right, you're welcome back. The program is still Summit, and Banji and I are here and ready to, well, contribute a little that we know on the issue of the tribunal ruling in Osun State. Sorry, the person we're expecting is not here, so I guess Banji will just
Jumoke,
say the little
we
bit we can.
We also have a duty here as the members of the fourth state of the media to actually say a couple of things, particularly elections and these supplementary elections to start with, because Osun's issues emanated from the supplementary elections. The tribunal, in its wisdom, actually removed the discourse that both parties caught during the, and actually based its judgment on the original elections. So the winner, they are to the tribunal. The winner had actually emerged from the main elections, so and that there was no need for a supplementary election. So the question is, even the last 4 or 5 supplementary elections we had 2 days ago, I mean, was there justification for this? For those supplementary elections? Some were saying that in Plateau State, for instance, the winner had practically, clearly emerged before the supplementary elections. So why did you stop? And even in Bauchi, the winner was almost coasting home to victory. That there was no need for supplementary elections. And even in Sokoto and Kano, I mean, lots of people were saying, declare the winner. We already know the winner. In Sokoto, they said, declare Tambua. Anything other than that, we would not accept. And eventually, Tambua won that election. And same for Plateau. Lalong won elections. But we have seen what is common to all these supplementary elections is that almost all the losers have said they have rejected the result, and they said they are going to court. So on what basis? What we are saying is that these things would have not actually been warranted if we had restricted ourselves to the main elections. We are told that the supplementary election is open to several abuses. And even that the supplementary election is not constitutional. It allows for manipulations and so much abuse associated with a supplementary election. So what we are saying is that there's still much to be done by the Electoral Commission, that's the INEC, to ensure that our elections are done with, I mean, in the first instance, that's during the first elections, and that we do not allow people to start thinking of how to win at all costs, how to manipulate, because it's much easier. You're talking about maybe a couple, I mean, maybe 50 polling units, and or less. In the case of Osun, it was less than 7. So it was much easier to manipulate and do all sorts of abracadabra. So the challenge before us and the Electoral Commission, how do we avoid supplementary elections? And we also told that the supplementary election is also occasioned by poor voter education. The poor voter education arising from people voting wrongly. Look at the voided votes in most of the states were found to be greater than the margin between the 2 leading parties. So if people know what to do when they get there, but then you can't blame somebody who probably didn't go to school and had to go through about 70 political names of political parties on the list, and then people get confused somehow, somewhere along the line. So everybody has a stake, and we have a role to ensure that we perfect our elections in the subsequent elections. People died, and you are aware people died. A couple of people died. Even the returning officer was shot in Benue State. These things are avoidable if we restrict ourselves to the first elections.
Well, another issue concerning this going to the tribunal and all that is Oyetola has said Osun residents should be at peace. They should be at rest that he's still the governor until they get to the end.
Until the appellate court rules.
Yeah, until the appellate court, that's the Supreme Court.
You have the Court of Appeal.
Yeah,
Then we get to the Supreme Court.
Now, talking about governance in the midst of all this, how is the governance going to look like?
If you talk about governance, let me tell you.
Until we get to the end of the cycle.
Until the cycle. Let me tell you that in the last couple of months, January, February, March, of course, most governors, even at the president, we have actually put governance aside and we have actually concentrated on politics. Yeah. So people have been the losers now. We have not actually got the worth of the mandate that we gave these people. And for anybody who is actually challenged in the law court, at that moment, within that period, of course, he will be doing everything to fight the battle of his life, to retain the power. So if it means dipping hands in the treasury to finance the legal team, I mean, doing all sorts of things to ensure that he's not shown the way out. So it is the governance that suffers, and eventually it's the people. They don't get the quality of governance they should get, because the governor is actually in a trial that may see him out of office. So we need to begin to demand that the people that we give our mandate devote every minute of their time to ensure that whatever it is that will make them give us the best is not sacrificed on the altar of maybe politics.
Well, that's one issue. Another one is that one of the big points that the APC is holding on to about this judgment is the fact that is a split. They said is a split judgment, talking about the three
members
of the tribunal who took this judgment. One of them, they said the chairman of that
tribunal
panel, yes, was not
a voice
in
of
support.
dissent.
Yes, was not
as
in
a
support of that
voice.
judgment. So that's the basis.
Yeah, and they have said that even though he contributed effectively to the points raised, that's the collation of all the points, but he disagreed on two points. One, that the tribunal does not have the power to actually remove the scores in the supplementary elections. And there was this other point that he raised. There were two issues. So overall, he's saying that he does not agree with the decision of the tribunal. But of course, it's the majority to 2 against 1. So he has his line. You have no choice but to go with the majority.
All right, well, this is their strength for going to the appellate court.
Of course, that's the beauty of democracy.
That's their strength for going to the appellate court. But we just pray that all those things will be resolved in the quickest time possible, because I know that this process usually takes months.
In the case of the same Osun, it took almost 4 years. Olagunso spent close to 4 years before
office.
After the thing that had been on, the case had been, it took almost a whole term before the judgment was given. Same for Ekiti and other states of federation, even in Anambra. Ngige spent close to 4 years before Obi actually came in. So you don't really know. But I think the judiciary has a role to play here to ensure that it fast track. Ensures speedy dispensation of justice, so that people are not ruled by illegitimate, so to speak, illegitimate government. We expect that in the case of Osun, that it will not take more than a month.
I like that word. Illegitimate,
yes. For now, it's assumed that Governor Egbeyemi has administration illegitimate until it is proven otherwise. So that's the situation we are in now, and we are waiting.
We're really waiting. All right. Do we have any other thing to contribute to this issue?
Other than the fact that those who have gone to court, we wish them the best. We are aware that the main opposition to presidential election, that PDP is in court,
yeah, it's in court.
And he's pressing for his rights. Those are his legitimate rights, his inalienable rights, and he should pursue it vigorously. Did you hear what the former president said?
Oh yeah.
There are those who are dissuading
him from going to court are evil.
Are evil. Well, I may not use those words. I may not use those, but it is actually his right to pursue his mandate in court. And he said it's a stolen mandate. So whether it's stolen or otherwise, the courts are there. The court will prove.
All right, thank you, viewers, for staying with us on the program today. We believe that through our chat, you've been able to gain more insight into the issue of the ongoing fracas. Should I call it fracas, really? In Osun State. Well, we pray that it gets resolved in the shortest time possible. That's our program today. We'll join us again on Wednesday for another interesting edition of the program Summit. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Jumoke Michael.
My name is Banji Busari. It's actually been a pleasure being here, and let's keep a date again on Wednesday for another fresh edition of the program. Till then, bye-bye.